Welcome back to Streamline Entertainment. It's Marvin speaking. We're going to get into a couple of videos, and it's about a deeper look at the county line activity and the rugs game. Let's get straight into it. I've come across some really interesting stuff.
I took a lot of drugs from the area that we're in, Newcastle, to a lot of different places, on the trains, on buses, any sort of transport that they didn't want to go on themselves I would do, and I would get paid at the end of it. However, more often than not, I would not get paid. So I was actually only 11 at the time. I think it was just a case of getting in with the wrong people, the wrong group of friends, not having very many people to support you or talk to, and it finds you, you don't find it. They offer you like what, £400 or £500 to anyone else who grown up that is on a working wage. That is nothing to a little Ben who is sleeping on a mattress and with no food unless they get fed off their friends. That's everything. I had to go very far. It was just past London. It was so hectic, and it was at every train station I was getting off and I was going to the toilet to cry, and it was so overwhelming. Like no words could describe how horrible that was. And then when I got to the location that I was supposed to be going, what was planned to happen didn't happen. And I had to do a lot of things that I didn't want to do to get out of that situation alive. If I hadn't have done what I was asked to do, which was sexual, physical, mental, then I don't think I would be here today, I don't think. I still to this day don't understand how an 11-year-old girl got on the trains unnoticed and not seen, not found, not asked why I wasn't at school, not asked why I wasn't.
It's just unbelievable. I think sometimes people are so busy with their lives that they see a young kid and think, oh, his parent must be close, or a family member must be sometimes with them, or they've only got a short distance to go. I think if it had been some years back, someone would have said something, but people are such in a hurry, and she was just so young, and it's just very disturbing that she didn't get help at the end of the day earlier on, and these kids are getting younger and younger.
Wasn't with a mum or a dad or anything like that, which is a shame, and I think that is now what mostly affects me day to day, is why someone didn't step in any sooner than what was necessary. So thankfully to a really good teacher that I had at school, literally gave me a lifeline. She offered me to start having showers at school, she offered to start paying for my meals outside of school. One day I had went in, and unfortunately I had just that day suffered a miscarriage. I think I'd just turned 13 after my 13th birthday. And she had noticed. She took me straight to the hospital, and I had enough. I think I'd reached that breaking point of, okay, I can trust this person, she needs to know that I'm not okay.
It's so sad. She's still a baby and she's gone through all of that. This is just unbelievable.
There will be young people who might catch this on their phones, might see it on the telly, who are living scared right now. What would you say to those kids?
I couldn't stress to people enough that they need to take that. It doesn't matter how scared you are. You are valid, your feelings are valid, you are never that stuck. If you are still living and breathing, you are never that stuck past the point of return. You can always end up at the better end of it, and I stand by that.
I mean, what would you say she is? Probably early 20s now or something, but that is, you know, maybe late teens, but that is just unbelievable and sick in what she actually went through. And we need to put these videos out there to save our young people from these awful things which happened to this young girl, and obviously young boys as well. Thank you. This is a breakdown of county loans in the UK explained.
Sense. You receive money, and when the person goes out and it comes back in. So the guy that lives in the house, he comes He takes the stuff he asks off me, he goes out, and he brings back money. To me, this is like a magic trick. I'm like, okay, this is calm, like, this is not a problem.
And looking back now as an adult, like, we all know the terminology for what happened there. It's county lines, right?
100%.
What is county lines?
County lines is more of a factor where young people are sent to different locations to go sell drugs or transport drugs. So it don't actually have to be you're selling drugs in a spot. It could be just a fact of you moving drugs from London, just from Southeast London to West London, or even from...
So dangerous, and they use kids because they're likely to get less rap if they're caught, less time, should I say, and to get in trouble with the authorities if they're 9, 10 and 11. This is some serious stuff, and it needs to be exposed a lot more. It really does, because a lot of this stuff is undercover. And like I said, we go back to the young girl who was talking before. What, 10, 11? Unbelievable what she actually went through. You know, she's lived, and, you know, and she's not even grown into a full adult yet, which is just so sad. It really is. And look what she's been through. This is part 3 by Tusa Duo. County lines is a serious issue in the UK. There are over 3,000 country lines. Wow. And with this, up to 30,000 young people have been groomed and exploited. This needs to stop. Let's listen to what this guy's got to say. This was from last year, but it's still very, very interesting.
So, county lines. Do you know what? Thinking about it, I haven't seen anything published about county lines for a little while now. Like it's disappeared somewhere into the darkness of the world. But county lines is a massive issue in our country. I mean, this ain't to out anybody that's involved in county lines and trying to give up people's secrets and stuff, because that's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is to try and help young people, our vulnerable young people, excuse me, to know the signs and the risks when it comes to being groomed or exploited into county lines. Now, county lines is, for anybody that doesn't know, is a line that comes from a city, and in the words of myself used to be and others that are involved in it, going down the country and setting up a line and grooming, which is the harsh word for it, young people into working on that line for you so you don't get into trouble, etc, etc. Now, what happens with county lines is there's young people that will get groomed into this, and they'll be put on trains and buses or put in a car, and they'll be sent to places that they don't know where they're going, and they'll be put in houses with other people or mentally ill people that are vulnerable also, and these drugs will be sold out of their houses, and their houses will be taken over. Originally, what will be said...
Wow. So basically, these cartels are preying on young vulnerable people and move youngsters in there to basically take the pee and run the yard until it gets raided. And that person that with mental health will get the blame, will get arrested and still have to go in front of a court, even though they've got mental health problems. So basically, it's terrible. It's just exploiting vulnerable people, and it's sick.
He said to them is, you know, we'll give you this amount of drugs each day, blah, 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 blah. But then by the end of the week, they're hardly getting anything, and you're in their house and there's nothing you can say about it. But with that, young people are put into these houses, and there's a lot of risks that come with that. You know, I've seen it myself when I've been involved in that line of work, and there's users out there that want their stuff, and where they want their stuff, they'll do anything to get it. And being a young person, you know, they could get stabbed, they could get hit with a hammer, they'll get robbed. But the thing is, what comes with that, you get robbed, you're going to owe a lot of money. Like, the debt's still there for you, and, you know, that's...
This is my point. At first, like you said, in the sort of Lucy Brandon situation, Jay situation, you know, we know that Lucy and Brandon are right into rugs. But the thing is that it's when they're all patting you on the back, well done, you've made this amount of money, you know, you're stepping the ladder, you're doing it right now. When things go wrong, things can change, get very, very dark, very, very, very quickly. And before you know it, you're so involved in the business, there seems to be no way out. And if you owe money or you've lost something, you've got to pay that back, unless they're going to be chasing you down for a long, long time. This is a big organisation, from top to bottom.
It's going to have to be collected at some point or other, which will then end up you having to work for free because you've just had hundreds of pounds worth of stuff taken off of you that now you can't pay back. And obviously your parents won't know about this because it's like an under the radar thing if you have parents that you actually live with. But what they're looking for when it comes to county lines and exploiting young people into doing this line of work are the most vulnerable. So the ones that, you know, parents wouldn't miss, or parents don't notice if they're out, and these young people that are out on the streets till 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, and they're doing this every single day. Them kind of kids are the ones that are at most risk of being exploited or groomed into this. And, you know, they're sold the fake dream when it comes to money and get new trainers and tracksuits.
This is what I've, you know, is actually saying. They promise so much, but it really ever happens. Yeah, they probably get a new pair of trainers, but the hours and the time and watching it back you have to put in, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. Anything you do that's bad, you always come unstuck very quickly. It's though God is basically saying to us, you're not supposed to be doing it this way. So it always comes up ructions, or you buy something with rugs money. It never lasts. It never lasts, and you get so many stories of people saying, you know, they did it to get rich quickly. It's never the way. You have to do things properly and go back to basics and do a course or an apprenticeship. You know, you have to. That's the only way you're going to make it, and use your mind.
And whatever stands out for these kids at the time that they want. And that's how they're led into it. It's done on a befriending scheme, you know. They make out that you're friends, you know, they'll give you this amount of money and it'll be this and it'll be that. I've even known for young people to be even set up and robbed on purpose, so they don't have to be paid whilst they're selling the stuff that they're being given. But with these kids that are being put on trains and in cars, that's now classed as human trafficking. Just like it would be if you've got trafficking gangs that are putting women into different houses from different countries to do like prostitution. It's now been made another law when it involves kids and vulnerable kids that are being carted off to different areas. And there was somebody a year and a half ago that was given the first sentence, the first person to be given a sentence for trafficking young people and using them to sell drugs in a different area. So it is serious, and people are, you know, they're starting to click onto this. But the kids that are mainly they're looking for, you know, you've got your kids that are in care, you've got your kids, you know, that they're just hanging around on the streets. They're not doing anything better with their time. And this is the kind of thing that's being looked for. And, you know, to notice this kind of stuff with your young people, if you're worried about your young people, you know, if they've got an extra phone that they shouldn't have, or if usually they're sitting in your living room and they're freely talking on their mobile phones and stuff, but now they're not, and they're being really secretive. If your child or you know, somebody you know is now regularly being missing from school and they're truanting a lot, they've got extra money in their pocket, which obviously the money that they should have is what money that you give them as pocket money. You know, if they've got any extra money, where does that money come from? Any jewelry, any new clothes that they've got that you haven't paid for. These are all the signs. These are all the signs that your kids are, you know, possibly groomed into something that they're now struggling to get out of.
Yeah, I agree. And things can spiral out of control. This guy is really talking some sense, and obviously you can tell he's got first-hand experience in what he's talking about here.
You know, if they're, you know, they could come across really worried to you. And I'm not saying all kids are doing that if they're truanting from school, etc., because, you know, some kids do truant from school, and that doesn't mean that they're involved in that game. But they're the things to look out for. You know, there is a few sites out there that can give you information on this and stuff to look out for. And if there is other young people out there that know of somebody, or they're worried about their friend, or if they know their friend's carrying weapons, and, you know, there's a site called fearless.org, and it's a site that you can go on there. You don't have to put your name or anything like that. It's undisclosed. Like, you can put the information of the person that you're talking about, and, you know, they can look into it for that fact. And you're probably going to say from that, snitching, I'm not snitching, I'm not this. And to be fair, it's not even about snitching, because if they are your friends and you are that worried, you know, they could come to some significant harm. So you putting that into fearless.org could be saving your friend's life, if not your friend's life, somebody else's life, because what comes with them packs that they're given becomes a knife or some type of weapon that they're going to have to protect that parcel at all costs. So they will possibly have to use that. So you'll be saving their life as well as their family's life, because they'll go to prison for a long time if they actually use that knife, and somebody else might pass away, you know, or something could even actually happen to them, you know, that you don't want to happen. So yeah, that's a little bit on about county lines for me. You know, I do bits of talks of this on school, and there's, you know, there's ways out of it, you know, like the thing is, because they're looking for vulnerable people where, you know, that they can go missing from home and no one's going to say anything about it. And if that's the case, there's excuses that you can come up with. It's not about just say no. Just say no is quite risky and serious. It could get you hurt. You come up with a blag, you know, I can't. My mum says that I've got to be home for dinner, or my mum needs me to babysit. My mum needs me to walk the dog. So little excuses like that, and you use terminologies like that. They know that if you go missing, your family's going to be worried, and they're going to be making phone calls because they're worried and you've gone missing, and then that's going to bring heat on themselves and that line. So that's just a little bit of information for you. If anyone needs any more information on it, you know, feel free to follow the page, give me a message, and I can talk further on that. Hope you all have a good day.
And we just move on to signs of child exploitations aren't always obvious. Learn to spot them. So we're just going to play this short video because I think it's very, very important that more information should come out about county lines and children being exploited, basically, and being used and abused. And if they get caught, it can ruin their whole lives, like it did that young lady in the first video. Travelling alone, looking lost, carrying a few phones, anxious or frightened, carrying lots of cash, being instructed. Go through that again. Travelling alone, looks lost, carrying a few phones, anxious or frightened. Be instructed by someone else. That's very, very important. I think this is information we should look into a lot more, and this is one of the reasons why I put it out there. Chloe says in the chat, there's definitely more to this. As a survivor myself, there's a lot more signs than this. I travel alone because I have no friends. Travel alone gets arrested. Yeah. There's lots of different things. And there's a lot we don't know about the child exploitation, and also it gets deep, and it gets to a point where I think, you know, we need to do more on these channels to get this out there, at least the information to keep a lookout. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. This is deep stuff, and thank you very much indeed for your support.